Good morning and welcome back to Sun Up on 7. Just before the break, we were having couch talk here with some very interesting topics and received the unfortunate news that Mr. Michael Clark has passed away. We are now switching topics to, well, we're now jumping into our first segment and we're joined via Zoom with Dr. Fernando Cuellar, who will be talking about COVID and his projections for after the Easter break. So good morning, Doc. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great, guys. Thank you very much for inviting me once again.
Yes. Matchy with pink today, Doc.
It's about the third time it, yeah?
Maybe fourth or fifth.
What?
You danced yet for we?
Sorry?
You danced yet for we? Have you danced here?
No, but practicing my steps.
All right, good. All right, we'll hold it to that.
We need to get you in person so you could dance on this show.
Okay.
All right.
So, Doc, we saw...
Well, I'm glad that we're going to talk about something not so controversial.
But, Doc, so we see how explosive the Easter was with people. Everywhere was just jam-packed with people. People may have forgotten that COVID existed. So could you give us some insight as to what you think might happen due to this?
Well, I am pretty much sure that we are seeing a slight rise in numbers again, no? It's just the science that would explain that. That after these congregations and a lot of people partying together, not using masks in close proximity, in enclosed areas, that kind of thing, we should expect a slight rise in numbers again. Remember, for the past maybe 2 months now, our numbers have been very well manageable. And that's something we need to understand, that COVID would always be around us, but in more manageable numbers, no, both in active cases and hospitalizations. And thankfully, for the past 6 months with Omicron, the numbers, it's infectious, highly infectious, meaning that they're easy for catch, but thank God the amount of people who end up in a hospital very small, and the amount of people who end up in the ICU is very small compared to where we were maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago. No? But to answer your question once again, definitely maybe by next week. So usually it's a 2-week period after the event that we see the peak happening. No? So we should be prepared for that, both as the health industry and the population overall. So if you start to only sniffles and sore throat and flu-like syndrome, better you stay home, talk to your employer, and I think that will be one of the best things.
Definitely. Doc, I want to ask in regards to, the new experiences that we're having now when it comes to, you wave up your card in the air for make everybody see?
Make everybody remember the vaccination.
Right. Well, I have my money in my wallet. So
I have it too as well. I have the Lee Mini version and I also have that too. I got booster and everything. We got our booster together. So, Doc, and on that same note, the idea of the new experiences, we're still pushing for vaccination, but I think now with the whole mask mandate being gone in the air, gone with the wind, and now you kind of get to choose your pandemic experience, where you get to choose if you want to wear your mask, choose if you want to, go out there and be social distancing and everything, because these aren't as much mandated as before. What are your thoughts on this new way moving forward, especially as you see how?
I was hoping the mandate would not have been lifted so quickly. We must go maybe another month or so. But we can leave it up to the institutions and to the establishments to say, if you come into this building, you're required to use masks. I see it many times at different supermarkets and so forth. That's good that if you put up the e-sign and say, you're required to use masks if you come in. And I am also very, very pleased to see that people optionally are still using masks quite a bit, more than I expected. I thought that when I say, you don't have to use masks, everybody, not see another mask in the world, but most people, well, I don't know if I exaggerate, but a lot of people are still using masks wherever they go. So I think that's a good thing that will help us. But nobody made them use masks at the partying, the Kikaka and Placencia. and then kind of thing. I never see that really happen much. So that's what caused these bumps in numbers. No? But the mass mandering mandate was, I think, a little bit premature. But the establishments, the employers can still insist that their employees and people going to these establishments use a mask, and you, by choice, could say, you know what? And a lot of people that I talk to that come to the office are still willingly using masks without the big stick of the government on them, no?
Right. Dr. Cuellar, so apart, you were expecting a little surge here, but could you tell us what variants are still around? I know that there's the subvariant of the Omicron strain, BA1 and BA2, if I'm not mistaken. Could you tell us what other variants are still around?
There are various variants around, but we could refer to the dominant one is still Omicron.
Okay.
The dominant one, the one that they play bass right now, is still Omicron. Okay. And we are yet to uncover if there's the subtypes of it officially. And we do have the capacity to do that in country now, thankfully, as compared to 2 years ago now.
Okay, so we're seeing a little more Omicron. It's highly infectious, yes?
Yes.
And could you speak about the severity, some of the more severe cases of Omicron infections?
Right, most of them are Omicron. I just touched base before last night when I know I was coming on. The hospitalization are still at a very minimum. Up to yesterday, I had about 4 or 5 people in the ICU, very manageable numbers as compared to 30 and 25. You know? So that's encouraging. And if we increase that, which we would more than likely by next week after this Easter break, I think we'll still be able to manage it and continue pushing ahead as a country and getting our economy back to where it could be.
I think it is. This Easter was like a testing period, because we know Agric coming up. We know several different things coming up from here. So I think it's more of a test period. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. That's a good way. But the expectation from all of us in healthcare that we're bound to see some numbers.
Definitely. I know right now, I was talking to a friend and she was like, we only had like 50, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on Tuesday, and then it was only like 9 on Wednesday or so. Like, numbers are slowly coming in, but I'm glad that you mentioned that it takes about 2 weeks properly to be able to mend out and see where the numbers are rising.
Right.
What is super important.
Even today, the numbers won't reflect the realities of what happened Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday, and Easter Monday, no?
But Dr. Cuellar, so apart from that, because this has been a concern of mine as well, being that the mandates have been lifted, everything like that, how is it when people go for testing? Are people still going to get tested?
I'm going to ask that, yeah.
When they're symptomatic, we still insist that if you have one flu-like syndrome, you get tested. Okay, if you think that just one flu or one sore throat, you get tested. Okay, because the COVID come in all different size and shape and very elusive. So you still get your test, no? And of course, the whole travel thing, another story, depending on where you're going, what you need, and so forth. So there is a need for testing, especially if you have respiratory symptoms.
Definitely, if you're stuffy. And I think some people just tend to say, that's not a fresh cool, or I just have, this X, Y, and Z, so I don't want to go get tested. So, Doc, we're living in more of a transitioning pandemic situation. People are slowly feeling that we're getting back into normalcy. How should we really be acting now moving forward? Like, what are the steps that we're supposed to be taking? Because I think personally, my mom was talking about this with me too as well, is just that when it comes to testing and all these things, people don't feel the need to do it as much. Yep. They're like, you know what? I could treat myself at home. I take me vitamin C, I take me bush medicine, and I'll worry about nobody. I isolate myself. But like, what are your thoughts towards people that have that mentality? Do you think that's okay?
Well, I do think that it's a responsible way of living we should do. I mean, if you feel like you got one respiratory symptom, yes, you stay home, and if you're not going, especially if you're not going after one second, third day, you get your testing. I'm hoping that us Belizeans still continue using our masks, even though we don't have the big stick of government telling us that we have to. And I'm happy to see that we, like I said just now, we as Belizeans, I see all over that we're still using our masks. I feel even more than expected. Continue washing our hands and well, we can't say much about the congregation because parties are out now, no? So
Right.
we still so
I had actually thought about it, Dr. Cuellar, whereas contact tracing was a thing, how can one contact trace after these Easter events?
Yeah, that's gonna definitely be something.
that waste of effort and time from
Yes.
contact and resources, no? So
Right.
anybody go
I feel like if
we-
you contract COVID at this present moment for that Easter break, only your close friends will be like, breads, I kind of catch it. So just make sure you just take care of yourself because that contact, everybody made it all up in everybody. And I know a lot of, you probably saw some of the videos at Kikaka, at San Pedro, in
Club, oh my
in Placenta, clubs, like people just made no mask. Brandon mask with boss, by the way. Doc, I just want you to know that. Brandon mask, boss.
I wore a mask to the Easter River Bash.
But then he
That's
bought.
why that's why I forgot back up in your back party
Yeah, Brandon.
all the time, no?
I had a cup in front of my face, so I mean,
So, can people use cup as mask? Doc, just asking for a friend.
No.
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 hi, I'm that friend.
So as we're wrapping up this segment, Doc, is there any final words you want to give to people at home? Because as you know, I think it's not a matter of how they're, well, people now tend to feel like COVID is kind of gone. They've forgotten it, especially over this Easter. So what are your words, as a healthcare professional, as somebody that still sees these cases, what are your thoughts towards people, how they're supposed to be thinking, and your comments in general for the public when it comes to COVID?
Yeah. COVID not going away. COVID not going one way. We are still talking about COVID next year. But the key here is the numbers, no? Once we have manageable numbers for the healthcare industry, we should have the deaths and mortality at a minimum. Please act responsibly, especially if you have any respiratory symptoms. Continue to use your mask, even especially if you travel in the airplanes. Yes, we know that the States, everybody jump up and down because they have to use masks in the airplanes. But still let us have masks around in Belize while you wear more optionally, without they have to be forced for use it. No? Wash your hands. I'm glad I still see places where they have these little hand sanitizer dispensers. And it's not just for COVID purposes, of course, it's just good hygiene, not to be washing your hand frequently. So COVID not going away, not forget it. Yeah, always there. And we're going to talk about it next year, but it's about the numbers, no? God forbid that we have another mutation, another variant, because that's still possible, no?
Right. All right. Thank
These
you so
viruses
much,
are
Dr.
smart.
Cuellar, for the conversation here, for keeping us abreast of the situation and possible projection of the surge
So people
from the Easter.
look out for the next 2 weeks. But remember, although we have mask optional, feel free to wear it, especially in big crowds when you're going to go anywhere that you're going to be touching stuff. You touch your face too much. Make sure you're wearing your mask to protect yourself. And so with that, we go to our next commercial break. But when we're back, we're going to be speaking to Tide about fire as a threat to the earth. Stay tuned for that exciting conversation. We'll be right back.